Messages. Topic. How do you receive your messages? Because there's a proper way and an improper way. Messages typically supposed to be understood naturally. This is a message. I am sending out a message on podcast. Hopefully, it will get to other people that may need help. Each and every individual will understand this broadcast differently. They will get their own message out of it. Plain and simple. Naturality. You're walking down the street or walking through a park, and all of a sudden, an insect or an animal that you haven't really seen too often, that could be a rarity. It's like, once in every so often. Or an awkward situation happens, like a caterpillar stuck on your ear, and you're like, where did that come from? So you look it up. You look up the meaning of it. It's called the spiritual meaning of it, but it could be universe meaning, or there's other names for it or whatever. But it's basically going to give you an insight of a certain behavior, of a certain way of doing things. A way to take a right step in the proper direction. Okay? It'll give you a rundown or an idea of what you may be going through. It'll give you a good way and a bad way, two different ways. Depending on if you're down on your luck or if you're heading in the right direction. Spiritual animals. That's receiving the proper message. Understand you don't want to do it every hour. It's just when you're not looking, when you're not searching, when it just stumbles across your path, then it's like, intriguing, let me look it up. That would be a proper message. When you're gazing at the sky, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I haven't seen that in a while. Or I've never seen that. And all of a sudden the cloud might have a resemblance to either an image, or you might see a letter or two in the clouds, or however you see the clouds, that may have some type of resemblance to something of your knowing. And then you take the time out to try to understand, like, okay, well, I saw this, and it could pertain to something that you're going through. Proper message, right? Another proper message. You're in a grocery store. You're shopping. Billions of people, thousands of people in the store every day around the world. We're used to everybody talking. A crowded room sounds like a crowded room, right? But all of a sudden, you hear something of a conversation that could be 2 aisles down the grocery store, or you're in the fruit section and you hear something in the vegetable section, like 2 rows down, 3 rows down, and it kind of stands out over all that crowded conversation. It stood out for a reason. Not anything to do with the person. It was the words that stood out. And so they'd have some type of resemblance to you, of your knowing. Meaning it hit you like that. It was something that you knew. Good or bad, it don't matter. Those are very easy understandings of getting the proper message. It doesn't have anything to do with the person. It has to do with, for an example, we all need a little bit of reminding, right? Now, we can be reminded by a sibling, a spouse, it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, okay, okay. But to be reminded of something that you're not aware of, and it grabs your attention like that, that's a message. It's definitely a message. Numbers. If you're a person that really doesn't look at the time too much, and all of a sudden you're always looking at the time and it's a certain time, look up the numbers, see what it means, right? They call them angel numbers or messaging numbers or whatever it is. It all lets us know, like there's different aspects of knowing what a message is. You're driving and you're not really one to look at the speed limit or the mile markers or anything like that. Those little things that we pass up on the road, all of a sudden we start looking at them and we're like, whoa. Okay, like a certain number sticks out to us. Not a lucky number, a certain one that it's like, whoa. Okay? Look it up. Some type of message, right? So, these messages are natural. They are natural messages. You gotta look them up. They may have some type of understanding to a solution that you can't find or haven't figured out. It will definitely help you, like almost like a counselor would, but in your own way of getting your own message. Why? Because there's a good and a bad meaning. It'll keep you up to par on what you need to work on in the self-improvement department, right? Things that you want to do for yourself, but a lot of people put self-improvement to the side, like they don't take it seriously, or they know they need to, but there's other things in life, of course, that are more important. It's just like any other thing in life. When you're trying to quit, it's like, okay, things are difficult to quit, but it takes a process and some progress. So, messages. There's all types of ways to receive messages or understand them, because receiving them is like different from stumbling across them. Okay? To me, receiving them is like somebody put something in my hand and I received it. Did I get a message out of it? Or did I get a message out of the person? Nope. Neither or. Because when somebody puts something in your hand, it's usually scheduled or it's an intent. So I typically don't look at that as like a real message. Messages can come in many ways. If you're used to putting, let's just, for an example, a kitchen. Like every day you're used to using seasonings and you put them up fine, and all of a sudden, a day comes or 2 days, trying to put up the seasoning and the jar keeps dropping. Or the seasoning keeps, falling on its side or whatever. And it isn't like normal, like it used to be. That's a message. Like something ain't right. Something's falling. Something's laying down. Something can't get up. So, you know what I mean? Like, check out your fatigue. Check out if your proper energy is up to par. Getting your sleep, getting your rest. Lagging. Are you lagging? Are you got droopy eyes? Lack of sleep. Whatever it is. That could be a message. Awkward things happen. And we get our messages understood in different manners, right? So I would always keep it natural. That's the best way to get your messages, is natural. Now, personal messages. These are interesting. Personal messages can do in either or way, but there's a right way and a wrong way. The proper way would be a person's intuition or a person's intuitiveness. For example, I'm going to use grocery store. You're shopping and a person starts a little conversation with you or whatever, or makes a comment, and all of a sudden a person feels like speaking. It's like they can relay a message of their opinion, right, off of their own intuition or judgment. Meaning, if you look down and it doesn't look like you're having a good day, well, that person could be a person that just likes to uplift people and give you some inspiration, and it makes them feel good about themselves. The other way would be that the person felt through their own understanding of life, of their own intuition, that you might have been going through a similar phase or a similar situation, that the person felt like speaking a message to you. Meaning they kind of comprehended your emotions in a few ways. It could have been through feeling it. It could have been through observation. It could have been through the way you talked. It could have been through any of those things. Those would be conversational messages that are opinionated. And if it resonates with you, or if it's understood to you, then it's like, oh wow, it's like it means a few things. That your self-esteem or self-improvement that needs to be worked on maybe needs to have a little extra pep in its step, a little extra doing, because it's starting to be observed by society or by the public. And if a stranger can understand this and notice it, then of course your environment, your friends, your family, and stuff like that can notice it as well. So that would be another source or another way of getting, a message or understanding it. To receive it, I still don't think it's receiving a message, because you took the time out to talk to the person. Right? So when it comes to individuality, okay? Individuality messages are always going to be properly done in nature. Or like I said, little mishaps around your home and stuff. When it comes to what a lot of people know of, meditative messages are invalid. Plain and simple. They're invalid. If you're in a relationship, well, it can help you out trying to figure out maybe what's wrong, what can be right. But most of all, I wouldn't go off of it because of science. The individuality messaging is almost damn near impossible. Not having to do with nature itself. I'm talking quiet room, meditating, laying down, and what YouTube or what any other development when it comes to spirituality or improving or whatever you hear, awareness, consciousness, all that stuff. It's like they say meditate. Well, there's a fine line between meditating to understand yourself and meditating for messages. Meditating to understand yourself is going to have to do with your actual body function. Knowing the little aches you have and how to properly heal them. Knowing, the proper spots that you can rub, the proper areas to get rid of those little aches and things like that. It's getting to know yourself, your body functions. That's proper meditating. There's so many things that are improper when it comes to teaching a person how to meditate. To me, my experience, visualization, no good. Meditating should always be about understanding your body functions. If there's something wrong, work on it. If you feel a little awkward in one area of your body, look it up. Work on it. What is it that you need to work on? because being able to properly give yourself these times to meditate and just listen to your breathing, to your heart rate, and your movement, and being aware of it, that's how it should be. Because whatever you feel might be out of the ordinary, you can work on. And it takes time. It takes time to calm down, be relaxed, know what needs to be relaxed in your life, know what helps to calm you down in your life, taking the time out to get out of the frustration mode throughout your day. And that's what meditation is about. Now, what I've majorly learned with my experience is if you're meditating and you're waiting for a message, what are you waiting for? Because there really shouldn't be no message. There shouldn't be one message while you're meditating. It should be quiet. It should be peaceful. It should be calm. It should be relaxful. If you get a message while you're meditating, then you're not meditating right. Meditating is just as it was explained. Quietness. Relaxing. Now here's the thing about a thought. If my thought knew that this was proper, and my thought is of no thought other than at the moment of what I'm doing, and that would be relaxing, using meditation as an example, then if I'm laying down and my eyes are closed and I'm already doing what I had planned to do, then my thought is of no thought, because I am relaxful and I am calm and I am listening to my breathing if I'm focused on it. I can hear my surroundings if there's wind outside or if it's raining or whatever it is. But that's still not a thought. Because if I hear the rain outside or the wind blowing while I'm relaxed, that would be comprehending. And so rain hitting the window, for example, that would just be extra to be relaxful. So to have a thought, make sure it's your own thought. Because if you're meditating and you get a message of a thought, then that's a thought. That ain't yours. And that's a message And that message should have never been a message, because at this understanding, that message is a threat. Because somebody would be mentally messing with your head. Telepathically, psychically, whatever it is. That's putting everything to the side. Like, okay, I know I need to maybe, natural duties in life. It's like, okay, I know I need to brush my teeth. I know I need to brush this. I know I need to brush my teeth. I know I need to brush my hair. I know I need to organize my room. All those responsibilities that we have, what? Those are all scheduling through thought. But if you put the time to the side and you're meditating, and you already know what you have to do in life, and you took the time out to have no time, then there should be no worry on your mind. So to have that thought, is it really a message? Or is it intrusion? Or is it you being aware that it's not your thought? So whose thought would it have been? And why was it a thought? The thought process is very interesting. It's intriguing because we can go through life and know what we're doing with no thought. So where are your thoughts coming from? Because being aware is being aware. If I'm driving to the store, I know how to drive. I know what the traffic lights mean. I know that being cautious is to be aware of other drivers. And it's become a habit of driving to where I naturally know how to drive. Now, the only thought that should occur is, should I take this exit? Should I take this route? Being aware. Blinker. About to change lanes. The mirror, side mirror in the car, tells me it's clear to go. I would naturally move and change my lane. Blinker. Looking in the side view mirror. There's a couple cars at a distance. My thought would be to let the cars pass or to make my lane change in a safely manner. The thought. The thought would then be of your own thought. know what your thought is, because messages are crucial when it comes to thoughts. To receive a message through thought isn't the best way. But to know where the message is coming from is to know that it wasn't your thought. Don't receive the message in thought. Know your own thought, so you're not a victim of another's thought. Know that you are. And what I mean by that is, if you know something of yourself, and you know that you dressed up very well a certain day, and you know that you're pretty, know that you are. Don't wait for another's thought to allow you to think that you are. Because if you know, then you won't have to think. Be comfortable with yourself. If you know what you're doing, and you know that you are, then know that your doubt can be of a few things. Which would then be experience of other people's observations or reactions. But if those things don't bother you, then know that your thought might not be your thought. Unless you know why. If you don't know why, then don't ask yourself why, but yet figure out why. If you can figure out why, and take the time to figure out why, then you can find what you may be lacking. But know of your own thought. Because your own thought can either be a why or a wonder, or it can be a thought that puts you ahead to know your own action. If I know it's cold, and I want to put on the heater, my thought would be, do I want to turn it on? Or the light bill? Or the get out of bed to turn it on? Or to put my slippers on to turn it on? Know yourself. Know your thoughts. Know what's not your thought. Know what is your thought. Understand what a message is. Because a message could be of a thought that you already knew. And you really didn't have to think it. And what I mean by that is, if I know what I like, and I know what I want, then when I'm going for what I want, and I'll use a computer as an example. If I'm going to the store to buy a computer, and all of a sudden I'm at the store and all of a sudden I'm like, look at these tablets. They're pretty cool too. That would be a thought of wanting to get what I want, but yet saw something similar, so I would then have to decide or look into it. But if I'm going to the store to get a computer, and all of a sudden it's like getting your computer is a whole nother thought of a computer, and it needs to be questioned through your own thinking process, then think, why would I have that thought if I have already thought it? Meaning you shouldn't be on your scheduled event, knowing what you're doing, going to the store to get a computer, and it shouldn't reoccur again. Like, it shouldn't, your thought system shouldn't be like, oh, I need to get a computer. Because you already knew you were getting one. So know what's affecting your mind. It could be another's thought. if you know what you don't want, and you know what you're changing in your life, and you know you're done with that, then the reoccurrence of the thought would then have to be understood of why it's being thought. Are you thinking? Or did you decide? Because if you decided to relapse, it came with the thinking process. If your thought was to do, yet you knew you were done, then your thought was not of your thought if you did what you were done doing. If you gave something up for Lent, and you know you're not doing whatever you gave up, and all of a sudden you indulge with not thinking, then your thought was of another person's thought, because you weren't able to think. Know whose thought is what they would say guiding you. But to be guided is a whole nother meaning to me than others. I would guide by extending my hand out, allowing the other person to make the choice of free will, trusting, deciding, and so forth. But to be guided mentally, that's manipulation. That's control. That's way past control. Know what your thought is versus what you weren't able to think. Know your thinking to be able to actually have a thought of your own opinion. It's like conversation. When you talk to people, your thought arrived, and the next thing you're doing is waiting for them to be quiet to talk. But you didn't have to think about it because your thought arrived based on the conversation that you were having. Make sure you're getting the right message, because there should be no message. Know where your message is coming from, because that message could be deadly.